Stalin's a Whore by Jason Shannon. This is the author. In the summers it was hot, moist, mosquitoes everywhere. In the winters it was frigid, snowdrifts as high as a man. The forest was thick, almost as thick as our hero's mustache. The nearest rail line was 40 miles away. This section of track had a train come by once a week, and Tsarist guards patrolled those tracks like rats. Koba had escaped this particular exile twice before, sneaking back to the Caucasus to agitate. For now, however, he was trapped. The Cossack who came through every so often was well aware of Koba's exploits, and had told him in no uncertain terms, if this cabin were found empty, he'd radio ahead to Irkutsk and have the train stopped and searched on the spot. "Da!" the Cossack had gloated. "I hear that crazy shaman plowing Empress was just poisoned, relieved of giant penis, and then shot 17 times, then drowned. I will do worse to you if you escape." So Koba was stuck here, chopping wood, reading Marx and Lenin, writing letters to his comrades in Baku, and assisting with the general chores of the household to which he'd been assigned. One day there was a clamor in the small house. "Koba! Sverdlov!" cried Mrs. Teresiva, the matriarch of the household. 13-year-old Lydia Perpigenia is with child. You are both men in 30s, and have not courted my husband to seek her affections. Who did such thing? Koba, I am looking at you. Everyone in Hamlet knows about the great Koba's virility." "Me? Not me," insisted Koba. "Would I inseminate girl only months after first flowering? I have wife back in Georgia. Plus, I am communist. Would communists have personal life in tatters and wash all hands of collateral problems without ever acknowledge? Of course not. Now, Comrade Sverdlov..." "Niet! Do not try to blame this on me. I have been impotent since Okrana beat me mercilessly in testicles." "Oh, shit," thought Koba. "How am I going to get out of this one? I am a highwayman and agitator. I cannot have child bride. It would discredit movement." So he denied it until he was blue in the face, claiming that it was a sacred Leninist principle to only reach a mission once quarterly, the rest of one's time devoted to the people, and that he'd already done that to a photograph of his wife in Georgia this quarter. "One can bullshit about Bolshevik principles all one likes," he thought, "because the writings are so dense and double-meaninged. Who is to call bluff?" That night he slipped out. Though the windows had been bolted shut, he had long since sawn through one bolt in order to slip over to Lydia's room. He opened a dresser, grabbed some extra clothes, then slipped through the window. In the moonless night he vanished into the woods. It was now a race against time, for as soon as the Teresivas noticed him gone, he'd be reported. Arriving at a neighbor's place a few miles away, he shivered. Down near the stable, he slipped off his jacket and opened the sack full of stolen clothes. "God damn," he thought. Everything he'd stolen was red, lacy lingerie from Mrs. Teresiva. He should have inspected it before stuffing it in the sack. "Oh well, at least it is somewhat of an extra layer." He stripped down, pulled on the brassiere, slid the panties over his hairy legs. He pulled the stockings on, clipped them to the garter belt. The brassiere was quite loose on him. Mrs. Teresiva was a rather matronly woman. Seeing the now empty cloth laundry bag, he tore it asunder, split it into 2 equal halves, balled up each portion, then stuffed each cup of the bra, filling himself out nicely. "Very nice," he declared, and then bundled back up. He opened the gate of the neighbor's horse pen, sneaking into the barn. Tiptoeing his way down to the stables, he found a nice-looking horse, saddled it, and rode out into the night. He raced hard for the south. He had to make it to that rail station before the alert was put out. It was a treacherous road. The wind was bitter on his mustachioed face. He leaned into the horse, shielding his face behind the horse's mane. His filled-out chest nearly touched his knees, and he felt Mrs. Teresiva's panties cupping his behind rather nicely. He thought. "Women's undergarments quite comfortable. I am sexy beast in such clothings." As dawn was cresting, he arrived at the train station. He went off the main road and into the taiga forest, hitched the horse to a tree and sneaked up a knoll, where he spied down on the tracks. He could see the platform, a few rotted wooden planks in a clearing, and not much else. 2 Cossack horsemen were in that clearing. A small hut was nearby. Suddenly, a horseman came charging up the road to Kureka. "Officers! Officers! Alert!" "Oh, shit," thought Koba. "What is it, peasant?" snarled the one Cossack. "Escaped exile. He stole horse and set of woman's undergarments." Koba had no choice but to hike eastwards along the edge of the tracks. With luck, he would find the train, stow away, and bypass these Cossack guards when the train came through the station. He marched. He marched for 4 hours. "Damned seductive little girl," he thought. "At least now I have excuse to return to Baku and agitate." At last, in the utter serenity of the Siberian countryside, he could smell the exhaust plume of a train. "I am close." He hurried along through the trees. Coming over a hill, he saw the train. It was parked. There were a half-dozen or so men trying to clear a felled tree from the tracks. They were soldiers by the looks of it. "Tsarist scum, fighting damned imperialist wars. Oh well, it will only hasten global revolution." Perhaps he could sneak into a storage car. He kept low, moved through the trees. As he moved, he suddenly became aware of flowing water, and he was on guard. It was too cold for water out here. Turning, he saw one of the soldiers urinating against a tree 20 paces off. "Shit, if I get caught, I will for sure be executed." He tried to sneak away, but with the first step he took, a twig snapped, and the soldier immediately looked up. "Hey, who are you?" the man demanded. Koba took off running. He ran headlong into a bramble. The soldier followed at breakneck speed. Koba ran. Branches whipped his face. His jacket got snagged on a bush and ripped open. He tripped, tumbled down a hill. The soldier grabbed him by the shoulder just as he went down, stumbled, fell down the slope right behind Koba. They both landed in a pile of leaves. Koba's jacket was half off, and the brassiere was plainly visible. The soldier still had his cock out, having not yet put it away from the piss. "You are escapee," said the soldier. For sure he would be put before a firing squad, and a Tsarist firing squad was the worst of all the Western nations. They had only one rifle to share amongst 5 soldiers, so the first would take a shot, then pass the gun to the next man, who'd take a shot, and pass the gun off, and on it went. Koba cowered beneath the bulk of the man. The soldier noticed the lingerie, reached out and tugged at the bra strap. "I could have you shot, commie scum. Or, perhaps we make deal." Koba noticed the man was now erect. For some reason, he was not repulsed at what was being implied. Koba smirked beneath his mustache. Coming to his feet, he struck a seductive pose, bringing his arms together to push the cups of the bra close in amongst themselves, as a woman would do to accentuate her cleavage. "But, Captain, sir," said Koba in a flirty voice, "I am virgin, I am good girl. You would not make a dishonest woman out of me." "Good girl," scoffed the soldier. "You are already dishonest. Now on the knees, skank." Playing hard to get, Koba reached down to stroke the man, but didn't fall to his knees. He said, "Please, Captain, I must kiss husband when I return home tonight. You would not make me kiss him with your juices in my mouth." The man, whose name was Yuri, gave Koba a hard spank across the backside. "Liar, you revel in kissing husband after devouring load. Entire contingent of men, slathering you in seed. Then you make out with husband vigorously. I served against the Japs in 1905. I learned their eastern tongue. They have word for it, bukkake. You like being subject to bukkake, then kissing husband who is none wiser." He spanked Koba again. "I repeat, on knees, slut." Koba got to his knees. He stared at the throbbing manhood, now inches from his face. It was daunting. Could he really do this? But he found he was also rock hard in Mrs. Teresiva's panties. It had been years since Yuri had patronized the St. Petersburg whorehouse. He was mad with lust, and he mercilessly sought relief with the mustachioed prisoner. Koba's voice would be hoarse the next day. His eyes watered. He gagged and heaved, spittle drooling everywhere. Yuri grabbed hold of his swept-back, longish hair, formed it into pigtails in his fist, yanked it violently, and smashed into Koba's skull furiously. And Koba loved every minute of it. "Da, use me. Use my worthless proletarian throat. Make me gag. I am filthy prostitute who can do nothing more than take load. No more revolution, only load." Afterwards, his stomach full, he snuggled with Yuri in the bed of leaves. Da, this is life, comrade, said Koba, smiling contentedly in the arms of his new beau. Sucking dick on Trans-Siberian Railway. Is there any better way to live? I will sneak you onto train, said Yuri, but price is blowjob every night until we reach Moscow. In that case, I hope we take scenic route. Yuri got up, buckled his pants, went over the hill to the train. A few minutes later, he returned. Almost immediately, 10 men came out of the woods and surrounded the revolutionary. Koba scrambled to his feet, petrified. Your captain is a dick-sucking slut, he shouted. If he was going down, at least he'd out the imperialist and take him down as well. Da, we already know, said one of the newcomers, an elephant of a man. Problem is, he is only top. We have been needing bottom for a while. Unfortunately, said Yuri, my unit saw us. But, same deal can apply with a few renegotiated clauses? Same deal will apply, said the big man. Koba looked around at the men. They were all leering at him. And suddenly, Mrs. Teresiva's panties were feeling tight in the crotch once more. Well, said Koba, striking a pose. He undid the jacket to reveal the stolen lingerie. It looks like you boys need much relief after a long journey. Much release, came a shout. Come, enjoy supple embrace of Madame Cobbett, he said, hiking up the trousers to reveal Mrs. Teresiva's stockings. There were hoots and hollers from the various men. These were strapping, domineering men, burly men who had been without the feel of a woman for many months at dead-end posts in the Siberian wastelands. The big man stepped up to him. He was nearly 7 feet tall. He had a huge black mustache, swelling outwards from his upper lips and merging with his sideburns, the tips of the mustache spiked with the grease of his face. His chin was shaven, and he had sweaty jowls. His tunic looked native, Asiatic, perhaps Evank or something Siberian. It was grease-stained and ragged. Da, said the big man. My cousin has favor of Empress. You know the name Rasputin, yet? The crazed shaman who never bathed, perpetually drunk, stumbling through the Kremlin, pleasuring the Empress while Nicholas was at the front. Yes, a grotesque, smelly man. And the Empress favored him because of his alleged 11-inch manhood, her uterus taking a punching nightly. In our family, said the beast, we call him Smallcock. Now Koba noticed the huge bulge in the man's trousers. He ripped open the rest of Koba's buttons, grasped at the stuffed cup of the brassiere. Oh, behave, Koba said coyly. I am not such a loose woman as the Empress. You soon will be, hooted another man. Bend over, commie slut, said the beast. Your posterior is property of people now. His manhood was the size of a rain barrel. So Koba bent over, spread his cheeks with his hands. Yuri came up behind him, tugged down the panties. Do not worry, darling. Koba grunted. 2 fingers were now inside him. Yuri's fingers. They were into the knuckles, and curling forward, towards the stomach. Koba felt an immediate surge up his shaft. Right there, said Yuri. That is G-spot, dirty girl. Or, as we call it in my unit, the tasty bits. Vladimir will most definitely be hitting this with his saber, da. Time to collectivize the means of buggery, came a jest. The beast known as Vladimir grabbed Koba by the hip. You are commie revolutionary, niet? I will show you revolutionary way of lovemaking, da. Then he spat on the palm of his hand. This concludes the reading of Stalin's a Whore by Jason Shannon. I feel as though I should add a bit of context here. The story was originally written as a birthday card for a friend. I had bought him a copy of Sean McMeekin's Stalin's War, A New History of World War II as a gift, and my sex-addled mind immediately translated the title into its porn parody equivalent. Therefore, I wrote the story to stick in a card, and had one of the superintendents at my job site print it, having to reprint it several times, trying to get the alignment right from page 1 to page 2, while imploring him not to read what he was printing. The card was labeled Stalin's a Whore, an erotic fanfic, in parentheses, the book I thought I was buying, close parentheses. If you enjoyed this story, I'd encourage you to check out my books. I have 4 novels available. The Zimmer Insurgency, a fast-paced sci-fi political thriller which takes place over the course of 22 hours. The Hounds of Harrigan, a 1,200-page post-apocalyptic epic of global conquest under a neo-Mongol empire. The Moon Panther, a collection of 4 novellas in a dystopian Australia, featuring femme fatale assassins, a Machiavellian concubine, and ruthless desert bandits. And Rain's Agenda, wherein our narrator makes a startling discovery about female liberation in a time on the brink of World War IV. Go to www.jasonmshannon.com for free excerpts and links to buy. Music by Slave33 via looperman.com. Text copyright 2022 by Jason Shannon. Production copyright 2022 by Jason Shannon. All rights reserved. No part of this recording may be played for an audience or reproduced in any form. It may not be streamed, downloaded, broadcast, or copied without prior written consent from the author. Address all inquiries to jm1shannon@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.